Hello and welcome to CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Marc Johnson with TeamCentral. We are a no-code automation and data management platform. And today I have the pleasure of talking with Bailey Pumfleet, who is the co-founder, co-chief executive officer at Cal.com. Bailey, it's a pleasure to meet you and get a chance to talk about you and learn about Cal.com.
Yeah, likewise. I think we've got some interesting stuff to cover today.
Awesome. So let's just dig right into the details. I want to learn about your product. So, just tell me generally about Cal.com and the types of customers that you have and problems you're trying to solve, and the industries maybe even that you're typically serving.
Yeah, so at its core, Cal.com is a scheduling product, and I think many of us have used scheduling products out there. They're so much easier when you're dealing with across time zones and automatically setting up Zoom calls for meetings or booking vaccine appointments or whatever. But the problem is the players that are out there right now, namely Calendly, SavvyCal, things like that, they're just not very scalable for like the big like the big enterprise use cases. Scheduling is foundational. It's kind of like email. It's a core thing that humans do on the web. And so we set out to build a scheduling infrastructure product, which goes beyond just the basic person-to-person scheduling and really gives companies a solid platform to actually build scheduling into their app. So, next time you book your COVID vaccine, or next time, you book a sales call with a company, companies are delivering a white labeled and powerful and customizable scheduling experience through Cal.com in the back end, much in the same way that Stripe powers payments across the web. We're the guys to sit there and power that kind of scheduling behind the scenes.
Very interesting. So you guys are kind of more of an infrastructure type solution than for other solutions are built on top of Cal.com. Is that kind of, am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's very much been the vision from day one. I mean, we have a consumer product, so like anybody can sign up for cal.com/Marc, and it's completely free as well. Like we don't even have a paid plan for it. It's like completely free for individuals. We only charge for teams and more large scale setups. But yeah, like we have a consumer product and we use that as a really great marketing channel. It also gets us thousands and tens of thousands of people using the product, providing that feedback. But ultimately, like the long-term business vision is very much on this enterprise, or what we call scheduling infrastructure side.
Gotcha. It's very interesting. So what tell me about a little bit about the start. What were some of the things that inspired you to build this company? What are some of the things that make you interested in the scheduling space and maybe the productivity space and continue to motivate you and your team today?
Yeah, Cal.com was originally built to serve a need which we had actually identified for ourselves, like a more powerful and customizable Calendly alternative. Me and my co-founder, we've both used some of the scheduling products before, and I mean they're good for what they do, but like if you're building a hiring marketplace or you're building a telehealth platform or something like that, it just doesn't work. And we identified that need ourselves. So it was built directly as a solution to our own problem. And we only later found out that like tens of thousands of companies have this very same pain point. We literally just hit the right product market fit unintentionally. We're always motivated by the impact which our scheduling software has on the world. Our software is now used to power governments providing services to their citizens, doctors and telehealth, even refugee camps. And so this has always been something that's been built from the ground up solely on meaning, but it just so turns out that there's a great business model behind it.
That's fantastic. So you guys are really kind of international at this point, have a presence across a number of different countries throughout the world.
Yeah, that's always been the idea. Like we're a fully remote team ourselves. Like I'm here in London, but like the team is, every single member of the team is in every single corner of the world. We're here to be remote. We're like, our tagline is scheduling infrastructure for absolutely everyone. And that's why we have things like our free consumer product, to really open it up to those who want to take bookings, but they can't afford things. Or, even for the nonprofits and things like that, we've always kept them in mind. when it comes to literally making scheduling accessible for everyone, because you know, humans waste tens of thousands of hours and God knows how many dollars in, you know, like wasted productivity going, okay, does this time work for you? I'm in this time zone, and then you're
Yeah.
chanting back like
Yeah.
UTC -6, and then, you know,
Been
it
there,
all goes
done
back.
that. I think I need to get
Yeah,
on the product.
it all goes back and forth, but ultimately, you know, we come in and make that as simple as go to cal.com/Bailey, click a time, it's booked. It sets up the Zoom call for you. You know, it can even email you a reminder before the event, you do whatever. And you know, that is ultimately what we do. We want to make that accessible to absolutely everyone.
Does it work on other platforms other than Zoom? So can you use it on Teams and you know, Slack and other places that you might be kind of meeting up with people, Google Meets and things like that?
100%. I mean, you know, we even have our own video provider called Cal Video, which is,
Yeah,
you know, maybe not quite as fully functional as Zoom, but it's one of those where you can just easily hop into it in the web browser. You know, there's also Google Meet. There's like we have hundreds of these. We've actually built a pretty revolutionary like app store framework.
yeah,
You know, which enables I mean, like we're fully open source, so any developer who has any product out there, we literally have a ready-made developer kit which enables you to just integrate with any platform you want and build an app right for our app store. And this means, so you know, we take an example, Hudlo One.
yep,
They're a Web3 focused video conferencing platform. They have like a number of you know, features which really do fit a certain niche, and they have a very loyal user base. They reached out to Calendly to get an app in their app store, and Calendly said no. You know, if you're not Google or Microsoft, they're not interested.
yeah.
Whereas with us, you know, we're like, yeah, let's do it, and like we can help their developers, or their developers can do it themselves. But you know, we've made it so that literally in the space of like not even 2 days, and they were live and ready, and that means that anybody that uses that video tool and they want a scheduling product, we are currently the only solution out there, and I imagine will continue to be that only solution out there. So you know, we can really build a very accessible, like no matter what product you use, you can always integrate that with us, and that's one of our core values.
Gotcha. Does it work with, and do you have business in kind of brick and mortar type scheduling too, not things outside of video conferencing? You know, if you're a, you know, I don't need a barber shop, but other do you see any business from those types of organizations as well that need to do scheduling?
100%, yeah.
Yeah,
That's something like we see that as a very common use case. You know, even if you're, so we get a lot of like therapists within hospitals
yeah,
and things like that. We're working with governments to do that. Even like the Brazilian government uses this to like go and collect your passport.
yeah.
Um, so like it does,
Interesting.
even though, you know, like my everyday scheduling is people booking, I don't know, sales calls with me and things like that.
Yeah,
That all runs, you know, very much in on the online space, you know, within video conferencing products. But you know, it works just as well with in-person things. And you know, that's where our product can integrate with your hospital management system or integrate with your barbershop system, and you know, we can deliver that information to you however you know, helps you best.
that makes sense. You know, if you think about kind of the startup path and some of the peaks and valleys along that way, you know, talk to me a little bit about what are some of the factors that just led to you guys getting some momentum around the product and ultimately kind of getting to the scale that you're at today.
Yeah, definitely. So I think I can think of three things really. You know, first of all, we got the community, and you know, as an open source startup, like one of the big features of being an open source startup is that you get such a tight knit community around you. Like our users are incredibly loyal. They've literally like from when we had the most bare bones MVP that just about worked, that I coded in like 3 weeks on my own. You know,
Yeah,
users have gone from there, and almost all of them from that stage in time have still followed our product like 18, 19 months later, and are still constantly, you know, tweeting about us and, you know, praising us and recommending us to others. And I think that kind of growth effect has been really great, especially in terms of building that initial traction. And I mean, that kind of ties in as well with the product market fit. It's something, like I say, we built it as something for ourselves, but naturally a lot of people also needed this. And because of that, we are literally the only company that offers specifically what we offer. Like a lot of the guys do scheduling in, sort of in more basic use cases. There's definitely competition on that side. But when
Yep.
it comes to like the full extent of the customizability that we offer, nobody quite competes on that side. So it's definitely helped us build a really good brand in that sense. And then, thirdly and finally, our team, and I can't praise them enough, like the
Yeah.
kind of velocity in which we've been able to ship software. I mean, we're a very, very product driven team. We went from being like 150 new things a month, being like features, bug report, or like bug fixes, or small tweaks. Like I think we even peaked at like 300 a month actual like
Really?
commits. And that's, one commit could be like an entire new app. It could be an entire new section of the store, or it could be even just going back to the basics and making sure it's a smooth experience for people and eliminating bugs. But I
Yeah.
think definitely the kind of motivation within the team and the way that they kind of work with each other to ship lightning fast has definitely made us an absolute trailblazer. I mean, if you compare us to any of the giants out there, your Calendly's, Savvy Cows, they've been around a lot longer than we have. And
Yeah.
to be blunt, we have more features than them.
Yeah.
And obviously, and we can only attribute that to the team.
Yeah.
It's incredible work which has helped shape together a very powerful product very quickly.
Interesting. So how do you guys generally, if you don't mind me asking, acquire customers then? Is it all kind of marketing and electronic, or do you have salespeople that are calling on companies? And how does that community continue to grow?
Yeah, so it's all kind of fed into one another. So like the community helped build that initial, brand image, and then hence it all funnels down to a very, very inbound cycle,
Yeah.
where we're getting like, so some people out there have, booked somebody else on cal.com and been like, oh, what's this? And then
Yeah.
discover our enterprise capabilities. That's why I say like, even though we do a free consumer plan that gives you no limits, it's still a great marketing move for us.
Yeah.
Then there's also, people just hear about us in the open source community. We're very, very closely watched, and it's something that still surprises me to this day when people go, oh yeah, I based this off of your project. And I was like,
Yeah.
wow, so we definitely like get a name in some of like the open source stuff. And obviously a lot of the time the people who want to implement this from like the customer side are the developers. So obviously developers, they look about, for open source projects, they look about for companies that are very, open with their development process, things like that. And then they naturally find us because people talk about us. And obviously then the developers make the move to get that implemented internally. And sometimes at the end of the day, it's just word of mouth referral. We recently hired a salesperson in the team just for us to be able to cope with the absolutely insane amount of inbound. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
even from day, like when we had a very basic MVP, I kid you not, like 2 months later, we had an extremely large company, which I can't disclose, definitely
Yeah.
within like the top 10, in terms of size. And they're like, oh, hey, can we use it? And we're like, we literally built this MVP like 2 weeks ago. Our team is like 3 people. So it's always, we've never had the problem in the product market fit. What, our only bottleneck has been time. Kind of ironic for a scheduling startup that deals so much
Yeah.
with time. Really, we are just racing against time to be able to serve some unexpectedly large deals.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good segue. Is there any other kind of big hurdles that you would want to share with other kind of entrepreneurs and people that are out there that are looking to build businesses, in terms of what was hard, what continues to be hard, and what were some of the hurdles in trying to get to the, it sounds like product market fit kind of luckily for you happened pretty quickly. So from that standpoint, you're a lucky man. But talk to me a little bit about what some of the pain points that you have seen along the way.
Yeah, I think there are definitely challenges either way, whether you receive early product market fit or you receive it late. It's really just You know, are you going to go into something, hit big, but you're kind of a little bit unprepared for it, or are you going to be like really prepared and then it only hits big at the end? You know, I would really emphasize like the sales process and all that. That has been one of our biggest challenges, you know, just dealing with the amount of inbound. But also with that comes the kind of expectations that these large companies have. See, if our goal was just to get purely users to sign up to the product, like everyday people, yeah, no problem, we can do that. But when you're talking about selling to some of these governments and things like that, their kind of compliance needs and the amount of hand holding they need and
Yep.
should expect for, you know, those kind of size of deals, that is definitely one of the challenges. I mean, like I say, until we hired like a salesperson a few months ago, I think we had like one support person and the other 17 of us were all like developers. You
Yeah.
know, we're a very, very strongly developer team. And like I say, that's helped us build a very feature rich product in small time. But, you know, then comes the point of, okay, we also need to be able to, you know, deal with the sales cycle. And I mean, as well, like growth is a tricky thing in general,
Yeah.
especially when you consider, so, you know, like there are other companies like us, you know, they raise the money that we have and they go out and they hire 200 employees, and not every one of those 200 employees necessarily has like a tight fit job role. So, you know, say 100 of those are slacking off during the day, then, you know, you're paying out millions and that in employees, and then you just, you know, either lay off everyone or go bust or something like that. You know, we've always been wanting to avoid that kind of ending. So, you know, we've always been very, very very meticulous in our growth. Like every single person that gets hired, there's like a strong and clear need,
Yeah.
that we need somebody like them. We've always we take it meaningfully. Like when somebody joins the team, you know, they've got to have a really good fit within the team. So it's been trying to take that, you know, meticulous sales, not sales, like HR cycle of growing the team, and, you know, matching that up with the sales impact and the
Yeah.
sales demands that we can have with more people.
That makes sense. Yeah, tell me a little bit about just, if you think about from the story you told in terms of that first kind of MVP that you wrote, and then through that scaling process and achieving more funding. Like what's changed about the company? What do you like and dislike? What do you miss? What are just talk to us a little bit about what that process has been like and how the company's changed as you've grown.
Yeah, I mean, how's the company changed? Everything. You know, we
Yeah.
literally went from me being sat exactly where I am right now, and it was like almost midnight, and I'm like crunching out some, you know, key last minute things before like the MVP release. You know, to now we have a team of about 20 people who are all, you know, really awesome individuals. But you know, like, so originally, for instance, we started out, we weren't even called Cow.com, we were called Colenso.
Okay.
You know, that was the original working title.
I
And
like
we
cow a
weren't.
little. Cow's a little easier to say.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. You know, and we grew pretty well even when we were Colenso. But obviously, you know, if we're here to be a game changer product, we need a game changer name.
Yeah.
And so we went about, you know, we looked into what sort of domain names can we acquire. We got cow.com, which I thought was awesome. You know, obviously, like negotiating that kind of those kind of deals. And, you know, rebranding, that was a big step for us. I mean, it absolutely paid dividends. You know, everybody loves a just cow.com/Bailey. How short is that? You know, if
Yeah.
you're reading it to someone on the phone, you know, cow.com/Bailey is easier to spell than Colenso.
Yeah.
You know, although it wasn't a terrible name, because, you know, come on, how many .coms are available now? But you know, there's rebranding. There's also just the day-to-day stuff changes. You know, like I went from my 100% of my day was focused on developing it, because, you know, that's what you do when you're initially building a product. But now, you know, it's working on so many different things, you know, and for me that's great. I have a short attention span, so, you know, 1 minute hopping into, you know, helping customers, or the next minute, you know, building or designing a new infrastructure for us to grow with, or, you know, God knows what. it's definitely a very real, like when I take the time to sit back and think about what life was like back in April of 2021, or something like that, then it is very, very different now.
You and I are kind of cut from the same cloth. I'm a coder at heart as well, and kind of play the role of the CEO. What are some things that you like and dislike about being the CEO and co-founder versus when it was just Bailey writing the product and being more hands-on?
Yeah, so I mean, on the product side, I'm more front end oriented, in the sense that, like, I sort of design it and like bring that to fruition, and it's very, very rewarding as a programmer to actually take something from 0 to 100%. And I still like to jump into projects, and sometimes, like, when we're starting them from scratch, or making these little things that but yeah, that's a lot of fun. But on the flip side, I've always been very much sort of like a leadership character. I always very much enjoy that.
Yeah.
So I like, personally, I find it very, very, very fulfilling to work so closely with a team, every day, that I absolutely love. I think as well, just I really enjoyed the challenges of all the new things that get thrown at me each day.
Hmm.
Like, it came to a point. So, like, a month after we released the MVP, we raised our first round, and I think the first check came through for like 50K, and we had 50K in the bank. That was great. We had nothing before. We was going for like a month, on
Yeah.
nothing. So it was like, yeah, okay, let's hire somebody. And I actually, like, full on booked a hiring call with someone. And then it wasn't until I was literally, like, clicking the join button on Zoom, and I was like, wait, I don't actually know how to hire anyone. And then it's just kind of, you're just kind of winging it there. And,
Yeah.
we hired the guy, and he's still here today. He's one of our most senior engineers here today. But, like, the same thing happened when I was first in a sales call.
Yeah.
I've always been a relatively talkative guy, and I guess I could probably sell, but, I'd never had any formal sales experience or anything like that beforehand. So I love when this throws me into some of these new situations, and be it as well, like being on an interview or something like that.
Yeah.
I've prior to cow.com, I can't say I've had much experience with that,
Yeah.
but
You're a
it's
rock star now.
definitely a lot of fun.
What was there as you were going through this? And you've maybe alluded to some of this, but was there kind of an aha moment, or the light bulb goes on where it's like, we're building something that can really be of large scale. If there was a moment like that, tell me kind of what that was like.
There was. I know exactly what you mean, and it is very much linked into my point earlier about the fact that we had unexpectedly found product market fit, and and only then just realized the scale of what we're building. And I think I was like taking a shower or something, random like that. As you do, you just think about things. And that's I did very much get hit with a realization. I mean, like, this was in the very, very early days, where it was something where, like, the minute I finished my regular 9 to 5 job, I'm then straight away switching over and building this new product. And obviously, like, that's very tolling on a person to be doing
Yeah.
something like that. And
Been there, done
there's a
that.
point. Yeah. And then, but the point is once we then sort of encountered that moment where it's like, wow, this could be seriously huge, and seeing that initial traction and things like that, it did give a very good validation, and was very much the aha moment, as you'd call it, in the sense that we're onto something very, very big. And especially when you consider that there's we are pretty much paving the way in a completely new industry, in what we call, like, open scheduling, or like scheduling infrastructure.
Yeah.
It's definitely very, very exciting.
Yeah. On the enterprise side, tell me, describe for me what a customer implementation looks like. Like, once you have kind of created a relationship, and you're going to do a deal, how long does it take to get a new customer onboarded, trained up? What's does that process look like for getting all their systems integrated into what you guys are doing? What's that process look like?
Yeah, so whenever I get asked this question, I like to give it's a very vague answer in the sense that I'll say between 3 minutes and 3 weeks. And
Yeah,
what I mean by that is, so the idea of Cal.com is we give like a full spectrum of customizability in the sense that, on the 3 minutes end, even as a consumer, you can literally just like sign up in seconds online, get your own Cal.com link and start, taking bookings. It functionally works. But if you really want to go through and customize, like on the 3 weeks end, if you're like a government wanting to add like the COVID vaccinations into your own public healthcare app. I know, like for us in the UK, we've got the NHS. You book your COVID vaccine right through the NHS's app or website. And to achieve that level of deep integration, obviously you're building your own UI components. You're then talking to our API with those, and actually manually going through and querying the availability for Bailey or querying the availability for this vaccination site. And then you're doing things on a very much more granular level. So we leave it wide open to customers as to how do you want to get started? So
yeah,
what we've seen with a lot of customers before is, they need to deliver some kind of proof of concept to some internal stakeholders that want to know, is this good for us? So
yep,
they do like maybe like in the middle, say like the 3 days option where they, have something that's mostly out of the box, but they customize it a little bit, maybe put their logo on it. And then the stakeholders go, yeah, this is great, carry on. And then they go towards that 3 months side and they really then break it down, add that custom functionality they want, change everything that they want. So we can do it in a very much procedural way rather than just this. This does take 3 weeks. It can be,
yeah.
well, what do you want to do with it? It's an open platform.
So start simple and then kind of build out from there based on what the needs are. That makes a lot of sense. How does your team and you make decisions about the product roadmap, and how do you kind of take feedback from customers and prioritize, and talk to us a little bit about the just how you manage the roadmap and think about the product life cycle?
Yeah, as we're open source, like especially the very early days, it was very, very community driven. So the point is, you look at our GitHub, there are like a million feature requests in there by everybody who's ever touched the product. They want this integration, or they want this option. That definitely fueled us, at least at the start, combined with, what was our own internal vision of the roadmap. Moving forward to today, we now also factoring the whole, what do the enterprise customers want? So
Yep.
I think everything's like, to put down any of like the challenges that we ever have, it's always a balance for us. How much do we focus on enterprise? How much do we focus on consumer? And that's pretty much what our product roadmap sessions are. It's okay, we have 3,000 things that we could build. What are we building in the next month? And it's how do we best please every segment of who uses our product? Yeah, as I say, very much a balance, but that's where we just try and crunch through features as quick as possible, because we're always moving on to the next one. And like with every feature we build, we find that a lot of the time it's unlocking a whole new segment of customers. So there might be something which unlocks healthcare
Yeah.
options, like they are dependent on having XYZ feature.
Yep.
And building that can literally, as I say, like unlock a whole new set of customers who can possibly use our product.
Yep.
So it's very much like we try and keep a nice tight feedback loop with the customers, be them the regular consumers or even the enterprise customers.
That makes sense. When you guys do your product roadmap discussions, are they very structured in the way in which you work today, or is it still somewhat ad hoc, or what's the cadence for kind of making those decisions?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a mixture of both. We're developers at heart, and hence it's kind of, oh, this feature looks exciting, let's build it. And so obviously, like, I very much enjoy it as a developer, just seeing something that I really want to see in the product myself, and then you just build it because you're like super motivated to to build that into the product. And so we always try and pass on that kind of like, I like to call it like the founder mentality, where the people on our team also have that kind of flexibility, but also the accountability and the intuition to kind of decide what they want to build. So I mean, yeah, of course, we always have some, key stuff on the roadmap as to, okay, we do need to build this in the next month, but we also leave a lot of the gaps open for people to build just what they enjoy the most. Everybody's a different character. They've all got different strengths and weaknesses. And so we always try our best to assign things which play to those strengths.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think that's a great way of thinking about it. What, if you had advice for other entrepreneurs or things that you would kind of pass on, things like that for how you guys are managing culture and building your business, is there any kind of nuggets of things that you've been passed on to you from other entrepreneurs that have helped in your success?
I mean, in a way, I think for us, it's very simple in the sense that, create the culture that you'd want to be in yourself. And I know that sounds like very generic advice, but the point is if you sit there and think, okay, let's think about all the jobs I've had in the past. What did I like or dislike about each of them? And when we very much like to involve the team in these processes, most of the check-in calls are like, well, if you could like change one thing right now about the company, what would you change? And especially as a remote company as well, where like, so, we're very flexible in the sense that if you need to go to the dentist, just go to the dentist. Whereas like at some companies, you're having to submit like a formal leave request and things like that. So that's one benefit of remote, but also one drawback of remote can be like the lack of social interaction with your coworkers. So, like through suggestions from people on the team, like we do game nights. We'll just like hop on a Twitch stream as like an entire company and just play Among Us with each other, or we find all sorts of cool stuff. But yeah, it's keeping everybody motivated through the things that they just like to do themselves. So I think by I never want to be the guy that's like being narrow-minded and only doing what I would like. It's very much, let's open up the discussion to the people in the team, the people who are working day to day with us, and what would they like to see. And I think that's like we survey the employee happiness all the time. The data is completely open and on our website. And like everybody's always super motivated, and I think that's one of the things which we kind of have to attribute to the incredible speed that our team operates at. I think they're in a happy and comfortable environment where they're able to do their best work, and that is honestly the only goal I've ever had for them.
That's fantastic. Last question. What, if you could kind of predict, or, the vision that you have for the future of your industry, future of just kind of the enterprise space, data management space, integration space, whatever it is kind of around, what you guys are building, what does that vision look like for you? What do you think's coming in the future? What are some of the things that are going to be game changers that you guys are looking to do and get into? Just talk to me a little bit about what your kind of vision is for the future.
Yeah, the difficult thing for us is most of what we do is a game changer in the sense that we're paving something new. It was easy in the early days where we were building a Calendly or SavvyCal or whatever competitor. At least you had somebody to kind of look at their playbook and think, okay, do people even like this? You have that validation already. And I think we can always be thankful to the fact that, like 10 years ago, sending a scheduling link, nobody did that. And now it's commonplace. So I think, that's helped us on the consumer part. That way is already being paved. But I think, going into the future, where we're now like on par with the others in terms of like consumer scheduling, we're now having to push ahead into uncharted territory where, we're kind of making those gambles and those risks. And so, I definitely predict that scheduling infrastructure will be something that will grow massively. Everybody's telling us, oh, it's $1 billion industry. And really from what we've seen, it absolutely is, because there are like, you would not believe how many companies of every size, and they are literally sitting there in rooms right here, right now, saying, how do we make scheduling easier? And they just, like, right now, they don't know that we are here and we can, solve this. But, in the slow way that we are, building up this brand image and gaining in popularity, more and more people are realizing there's a solution for this. So I very much predict, give it a few years, we'll definitely have a good few competitors in our space.
Yep.
We've kind of gone beyond what some of the other, like, we were competing in the consumer scheduling space. Now we're paving our own path, and I think that definitely there are going to be some others that are going to try to challenge us. Even the big guys in the consumer scheduling space, they are very much trying to challenge us already, in the sense that they're looking at what we're doing and saying, well, we see that our customers want this as well. They want more flexibility out of our tool. They're trying to rack their brains as to how they can offer the same kind of thing as us. So I think we're now going to start to see a bit of competition, a bit more fuel in the fire, and I think that's very exciting. It's definitely an industry that's big enough for there to be multiple people in. We're not here to, like, obviously it's not realistic for me to say, oh yeah, we're going to have 100% market share in this new little niche industry we've created. Obviously that's not going to happen, but I think that definitely having some competition is always great. It's great to have. It helps motivate us, and I think that that's definitely the main thing that I could predict within the next year or two.
Fantastic. Well, Bailey, it's really nice sitting down with you and get a chance to meet you and learn about kind of the way in which you've built Cal.com and learning more about Cal.com. It's a really kind of cool and inspiring story, and just really appreciate your time today and sitting down with us.
No, likewise, great to chat.
Yeah, so nice to meet you. And we're going to have additional interviews that people can see out on cdomagazine.tech for other good conversations like we just had here with Bailey. So thanks again, Bailey.
Thank you very much.